broken rung. Now, you've heard about the glass ceiling. This is the broken rung for the majority of women. It leads to more women getting stuck at entry-level jobs and fewer women becoming managers. 62% of manager-level positions are held by men, and the other 38%, even though we make up 50.9% of the population, hold manager positions. This lack of career mobility is blamed on the broken rung, and we need to fix it. Today, you will hear from women who share their stories of how they turned injustice and inequity to opportunity. You will see how they have fixed the rungs or risen up a different ladder to success. Their superpowers are building their communities, developing their businesses, telling stories, entertaining audiences, and educating the next generation. And they don't need a cape to do it. When I look into the audience, I see women helping women. Let's get to know each other today and make the most of this event and build on the momentum of today by paying it forward and staying connected. At this time, I would like to introduce our own superhero here at Berkeley College, our president, Michael Smith.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Nice, nice. So welcome to our symposium today on whether women should have the right to vote. You laugh. Next year, next August, is going to be the 100th anniversary of the passing of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I did some research and did some reading into it and found out that the 19th Amendment, it took approximately 100 years of effort to get women the right to vote, which has only been out there for 99 years at this point in time now. So it's really, really amazing. So what I have to say to that is, we've come a long way, baby. Anybody triggered by that? Anyone feel triggered by that? Baby? So 50 years ago, Madison Avenue, the men on Madison Avenue, created an advertising campaign for Virginia Slim cigarettes. And they portrayed women smoking these Virginia Slim, small, these very slim cigarettes. And the innovative thing, at that point, it was about 50 years since women had the right to vote. And at that point, the innovation and sort of the great power that women had at that point is that they had their own cigarette and they were able to wear pantsuits. We've come a long way, baby, haven't we? So when you think about where we're at now and where the opportunities are, things are greatly accelerating. When your phone doesn't turn on immediately, when your computer doesn't turn on immediately, when we've got to wait for a light, when we've got to wait for something, we're impatient. The time and our expectations have changed very, very quickly over time. And that's where our opportunities are at this point now. No longer can we wait and challenge something for 100 years. No longer can we say that 50 years of progress for women entails having their own cigarette and being able to wear pantsuits. Things have changed, and we're seeing them change real quickly. When I talk to our students here at Berkeley College, and Berkeley College has been in existence for almost 90 years itself, so we came into existence after women had the right to vote. But we started serving women, and basically when Berkeley College started, it was effectively a finishing school for women. And you think about it now, what would be a $1 million idea? Creating a finishing school for men, right? There's the men that need a fin. The women are fine. It's the men that need the finishing, right? But Berkeley started with that and evolved over the years from in essence a charm school of sorts into a secretarial school, and then over the years became an associate degree granting institution, a bachelor degree granting institution, and graduate degree granting institution. So we have a long history of changing over time, and we've changed with the times, and our students are changing too. And we'll be having, I expect, probably within the next half hour or so, some groups of our students coming in today. And I think to all our panelists, thank you for your donation and your contribution of your time today and coming out and giving of yourself. When I talk to our students as to what their aspirations are and what they want to be entrepreneurs. They don't necessarily, they look at their parents and they don't necessarily want to work for someone else anymore. And they want to come out and they come out of school and they want to be the CEO of their own business on day one. And many of you who've been down the path and journey know that, yes, you can become the CEO and the owner of your business, but there's things along the way. And as Angela talked about broken rungs, we've got to make sure that the rungs are solid and that there are people there to help us succeed and help everyone succeed along the way without regard to whatever classifications, however somebody identifies themselves, however they dress, whatever their nationality, whatever their color, whatever their dialect is. Those things need to be blended. Not that they're not important, not that our identities are not important, but they should become less of a distinction and less of a distinction as we go forward as to being successful in whatever we define ourselves as wanting to do. Now, Berkeley is if you talk about Berkeley and education being a business, the business of education is taking curated information, delivering it in a way to individuals who have the sense to comprehend it, coordinate it, bring it together in comprehensive ways, and then actualize it, make it something that they can do something with in their lives. That's what Berkeley College does. We bring in students to Berkeley College who know that they need something, they know they want to have a job when they come out of college, but they need to form their minds at some point. And we're having, we know in this area, with all the distractions, they say a college student now has an attention span of about 7 seconds. Well, how do you read a chapter in a book with a 7-second attention span? You've got phones pinging, you've got headphones on, you're reading your textbooks on a phone. There's all kinds of distractions in every place. It's becoming harder and harder to educate students to be successful, to learn the skills that they need. Now, I've been saying it's been, probably at this point in time now, it's never been easier to get into college than it's ever been before. Access to college is phenomenal. If you want to go to college, you can get into college. But probably getting out of college has been harder than it's ever been because of the challenges and the issues and the preparedness and the distractions and the life issues that our students have at Berkeley and any other institutions. Berkeley has probably 2/3 of our students are females at this point in time now. And if you think about how this matches up with the population, most of the college goers in the United States now are females. And when we talk about voting, greater than 50% of the voters at this point are females. So when are you going to make something happen? It's like you have the numbers, you have the powers, and it's just a question of helping each other up, getting through some of those hurdles that are out along the way. And a panel like today is going to be, for those who are speaking and telling their stories, you'll be influencing another generation of individuals to do the same kind of things that you're doing, learning and accelerating their learning through, passing of the things of your successes and your failures, because we need to recognize the failures of all of us, because I was telling someone earlier that these lives that we have now, these social media lives that are out there, and you look at, particularly on Instagram. Anybody here not have Instagram? Okay, you don't. Congratulations. But the reality of Instagram, but the nature of social media at this point now is that if you look at individual social media lives, whether it's Instagram or anything else now, they're perfect. I mean, they're eating the perfect meal, wearing the perfect clothes, looking wonderful. Their hair is there's no such thing as a bad hair day on the internet. And everything's great. And I have a daughter who's 30 years old, and she's a nurse, and she's successful and very self-driven and does a great job, and love her to death. But when I wind up going with her someplace, my role is no longer president of a college. I'm a personal photographer for my daughter. And I have to say, I'm a proud dad. My daughter's a very, very, very beautiful young lady. But I have to take like 100 pictures of her, and we get the one most beautiful picture of her that goes up on the internet. And she didn't invent the concept. And the point that I try to get across to our students and to everyone is that, yes, it's great to have a great hair day, and it's great to have your great picture up there that you can put in the memento and you can look at it. But our life is not that one perfect picture. Our life is the 99 pictures it takes to get to that one. And there's nothing wrong with those 99 pictures, because that's what our life is. So you're going to talk about your lives today. Our students are going to hear about your lives today. You're going to motivate them. And when they're successful, and when we have future panels, or they're hosting future panels here, there may be individuals that are up there and not really quite sure how they got there, but it's going to be because of your contributions to them today. So I thank you for that, and I really, really do appreciate it. To all of you, congratulations. one last point. Many of you know I'm a big time reader, and there was one of the very first business books back in the I guess the early '80s was by Tom Peters, and he talked the book you may have heard of was called In Search of Excellence, and it was talked about what are the characteristics of really excellent companies. And Tom Peters has continued to write over the years, but Tom over the last 10 years has really taken a very significant tack and change in his writing. He talked about the characteristics that made organizations successful back in the early '80s, and a lot of those companies have changed now. Tom Peters now talks about the importance of organizations being successful in the future who really understand women, who have women involved in their organizations. That is where the tremendous power is, because when we bring in the women's thought, the women's approach, the women's feeling, the women's perspective into what we're doing, organizations are going to be successful because the population, the customer base, however you cut it and look at it and slice anyway, it's women. So as more and more organizations understand that and get along the way, you're going to see success from those organizations. You'll be teaching and talking to the individuals today that, ideally will be, including yourselves, who will be forming those organizations and talking about what's going on. So it is always a great pleasure to recognize the contributions and the support that Gail Brewer, our borough president, has done for Berkeley. So thank you, Gail, and thank you for coming up today and looking forward to hearing what you have to say. But it is always a pleasure for me to introduce our students, and I have the great pleasure of introducing Roshana Boswick, one of our Berkeley College students, who is just amazing in her own right. And this is the kind of person, remember this name, because she's going to be somebody who's going to say, oh, I remember seeing her when she was just in college, and look at her now. So congratulations and welcome to Roshana Boswick.
Good morning, Berkeley College, staff, students, and members of the business community. Also, a big warm welcome and thank you to our guests and panelists for being with us today. Berkeley is honored to have you. Angela Harrington, thank you for choosing me to be up here in front of all these people on this day full of empowerment, especially women's empowerment. Look around, look how far we've come. When women have been deprived of basic human rights not for years, decades, or centuries, but for thousands of years. As women, we tend to forget we are creators, nurturers, and transformers. They can't bury us, we are seeds. Women have multiple roles at any given time. We can be mothers, leaders, entrepreneurs, students, voters, and so much more. The ability to be educated, have a voice and influence, and enjoy opportunities and choices are critical to attainment of our goals. As women, we are advocates of limitless possibilities. We should always be creating and connecting. But strategy is important and execution is everything. I believe that passion fuels growth, confidence, and brings forth commitment. Without those three things, I wouldn't be who I am today in this moment. Berkeley College has been the foundation to my success. Berkeley was my second chance, and I'm taking full advantage. Last fall, I started as a new student, and I had nothing. I was a dropout, I was a procrastinator, my grades were below standards. I've been at my lowest feeling like it was too late, and feeling like I didn't have what it takes. I am now standing here today with all of you on the other side of that pain. My 1 year at Berkeley has been life-changing and inspiring. The departments like Career Services, Advisement, Student Development Campus Life, and Admissions have been the biggest support system. Everyone is here when you need them. Since I've been here, I've been maintaining a 3.7 GPA whilst actively being involved on campus. Serving as the founder and president of the Women's Empowerment Club, one of the most powerful and successful clubs on campus. We began back in January of this year, and in under a year, we have managed to put together many workshops and programs. This March, we hosted our first annual Women on a Mission Networking Summit. From there, opportunities have been pouring in. Not only have I been a leader and inspiration to my peers, but they have been my inspiration to keep me going and constantly delivering. I want to close by saying I'm just getting started. There's more work to be done, more successful events to be planned, and more women to empower. Remember this, everyone won't shift with the movement, but they will want to move when things start moving. I repeat, everyone won't shift with the movement, but they will want to move when things start moving. Thank you for having me.
I think everybody here wants to move with Roshana. We're going to move with you, and you have what it takes. You have what it takes. It's all in you. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Manhattan Borough President, Gail Brewer. She's the 27th Borough President of Manhattan, and she oversees more than 1.63 million residents in the borough of Manhattan. And since she took office in 2014, she has successfully passed legislation to reform the deed restriction process, add caregivers to the city's anti-discrimination law, and remove criminal history questions from initial employment applications, the Fair Chance Act. I want to say something about our borough president. She is a tremendous supporter of women. She never misses a beat. She's a tremendous supporter of our students, and we know education leads to opportunity. She's in the trenches in her neighborhoods across Manhattan, across the entire city of New York, advocating for New York City and the borough of Manhattan and her people. In 2018, the borough president served as chair of the Large Cities Council of the National League of Cities and has been named a member of their 2019 Human Development Federal Advocacy Committee, which advocates for policy positions on issues involving social services, children and learning, poverty and income support, employment and workforce development, equal opportunity, social security, and seniors, individuals with disabilities, public health care, mental health parity, and immigration reform. Ms. Brewer previously served on the City Council for 12 years, serving as the founding chair of the Technology Committee and leading the Government Operations Committee. There, the council passed her legislation guaranteeing paid sick leave for most hourly workers, requiring all city data to be published online, and protecting domestic workers from abusive practices. Prior to that, she served as Chief of Staff for City Council member Ruth Messenger, New York City's Deputy Public Advocate, Director of the city's federal office, and Executive Director of the Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women. She has a Master's of Public Administration from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government and did her undergraduate work at Columbia University and Bennington College, but her best work comes from the borough of Manhattan. Thank you.
Shit, that's not me. That's somebody else. So good morning. It's an honor to be here at Berkeley College. We've had the opportunity to work with some of your interns, and I can't tell you how great they are. So this is a big deal for me. I want to thank all of you. I appreciate Michael Smith's sense of humor. In politics, there's no friggin' sense of humor. So I'm so ecstatic to hear it everywhere. It just makes such a difference. And Angela Harrington, thank you for such a wonderful earlier speech and the introduction. And the students, if they're representative of you, Roshana, it is an example of the best. So congratulations. That was a great, great speech. Really phenomenal. I am in awe of people who focus on entrepreneurship because, you know, in politics and elected office, I think it's more focused on how to move the dial and try to get government to do something that is really supportive of the people it's supposed to represent. But just recently, for instance, I'm a big supporter of manufacturing in New York City, even though it's a very hard topic. At one point, the mayor said he wanted to move the garment center to Sunset Park, Brooklyn. I said, hell no. And so I've been working nonstop to buy a building and get development and tax abatements for the owners in the garment center who really do have manufacturers on their floors. And as a result, I've been honored to go to some of the creative opportunities that so many women in the garment center and men show. And just recently, I was at a pop-up on Canal Street that is put together by some of the folks who are supporting this effort in keeping manufacturing in the city of New York. And it was like being in heaven with all of the kinds of technology and pop-up and manufacturing and creativity that is in our city. And actually it was mostly women, whether it's fashion, whether it's jewelry, whether it's food. Entrepreneurship is exciting. Another example of entrepreneurship was when Whole Foods came to Harlem. And everybody was panicked because they're so big, they're expensive, and what will happen to the small entrepreneurs, delis, grocery stores, etc. So this amazing group called Harlem Park to Park, they took over. Jessica Walker knows them well. I love Jessica Walker. You're going to enjoy listening to her. But here's an example of entrepreneurship. So this nonprofit said to all the food entrepreneurs in Harlem, there were like 32 of them whom she met with at her office, listen, we need to have Whole Foods. They're coming to our neighborhood. How can this be a win-win? And so she got Columbia University, at this point, business school, to train 32 entrepreneurs in food, how to package, how to be the kind of entrepreneur Whole Foods would work with. Because in the past, some of them applied their unbelievably fabulous product to be in Whole Foods, and they said no. All 32 of them got into Whole Foods. All 32 of them got into Whole Foods. That's entrepreneurship. That's a win-win for the community, and it's a win-win for Whole Foods because they're all doing well. Whether it's the amazing Jamaican juice or something, some hot sauce that Vi Higginson does. These are examples of how you, in this big, complicated city of almost 9 million people, bigger than half the countries in the world, bigger than all but 2 states. We're bigger than Florida, the hell with them. We're bigger than Pennsylvania, we're bigger than Illinois. Only California and New York are bigger than we are. So we're huge. So when you have that kind of opportunity as an entrepreneur, it's phenomenal. And I bet that most of those entrepreneurs were women, the ones I know are. So I'm just saying, to be here today to talk about these issues is really exciting. And there are so many possibilities. So that is how I'm always in awe of people who make those manufacturing choices and then go and make it real. But we also need women on the ballot. We need women in government. We have some victories. I don't know how many people saw the debate last night. Did anybody see the debate? It was very interesting. There were, I believe, 3 women. And certainly all of them, I thought, were incredibly articulate. I'm not saying they were more or less than the men, but they're there. They were 4 women, actually 4 women, sorry. And they all were as fabulous as the men in some cases. There's one in particular who seems to be leading the pack because they were all over her. And that's a good sign, because that means that she's got the ideas and she's got the momentum. So in Congress, there are 102 House members now, 25 senators, so that's 23.7% of the 116th Congress, which is up from 20% of the 115th Congress. I think that had a lot to do with the amazing effort, because I know I'm not supposed to be particularly political, but that guy in the White House, I cannot stand. So I think a lot of people came out and said enough when they voted for the last Congress, the 116th. We have a long way to go. 37% of the women in Congress are women of color. And I think we have done quite well here in New York State. We all know that women make up 32.9% of our state legislature, and that's an improvement over the past. But more importantly, it's exciting that Andrea Stewart Cousins is head of the New York State Senate. And not only is she the first woman and the first woman of color to hold that position, she's also one hell of a nice human being. And that actually matters to me, because there are some horrible people out there. And it's really exciting to have Letitia, we call her Tish James. She served with me in the city council to be the first African American and the first woman to be the Attorney General. That's a big deal for New York. It's a big deal for New York. And in the 100 largest cities in the United States, that's where you get into a challenge, whether it's legislative versus administrative. The public is more supportive, that's why the presidential is so interesting, of supporting women for legislative over administrative. So of the 100 biggest cities in the United States, only 10 of the mayors are women of color. There are 7 black women, 2 Asian Pacific Islander women, and 1 Latina. So that's a small number. There aren't a lot more women in general. It's just not a big number, and that's something that we need to work on. So I think we are breaking down barriers. I should also mention Nancy Pelosi. That woman is 78 years old with 6-inch heels, and I don't know how she does it. I'm very impressed with her. I am very impressed with her. And I think she actually has the hardest job in terms of she's got, challenges in her caucus, and then she has the challenges of the Republicans, and then challenges of ageism, and challenges of having to look good every single day. That's hard. And do the policy. She has 5 children, one of many grandchildren, many of them living in New York City. I know them. So she is, sort of ahead of her time in terms of making a difference and setting a really high bar. So women are breaking down the barriers, and it's very gratifying to see, but we have a long way to go. I would say for me, you heard earlier when I was in the city council, that's an example. 12 years is important. The city council now only has 8 years, for those of you sort of following the nuances of government in New York. It's not a lot of time. That was the deal that was cut when we ended up getting the 12 years after a vote to make sure that we had term limits. But when I was in the council and continually, the issue is how do you make a difference and at the same time try to figure out how you can negotiate. Those are hard issues. I recently spoke at a school the other day, and one of the topics right now, of course, is Rikers Island. It is going to be closed. The city council vote is tomorrow. And we're glad. It's hard to know to make it right in the future. That's the discussion. So the issue is, it's controversial in the sense that there'll be new buildings, there'll be hopefully fewer people incarcerated, so the buildings will be smaller. But how do you make sure that the mental health, the arts, the employment, all the issues that people face once they're incarcerated and then they're detained, making sure that they come out as a whole person with skills and opportunities for the future. Because we're not doing that now on Rikers Island. I don't even know if we're doing it anywhere in this country. So all of these issues, in the Borough President's Office, we focus obviously on the zoning and real estate and getting affordable housing, number one, because we're part of the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, which is how zoning gets determined in the city of New York. It has to do with the mayor, the city council, the borough presidents, and the community boards. And I mention that because in New York City, as you become interested in topics, the number one challenge in this city is real estate. How do we take our small amount of land and use it, in my opinion, for people who live here? And that's the hardest topic you can ever discuss. That's number one, and certainly Rikers Island, believe it or not, is part of that. Because as you move people to a building in the 4 boroughs, Staten Island supposedly doesn't have anybody going to jail, I don't know. But they don't have a jail that's going to be on Staten Island. That's another topic. But one of the topics that is interesting, there are women in the Rose M. Singer on Rikers, right? I've been there many times. So the women, according to this plan, just to give you controversy, because that is what I do all day long, is figure out how to deal with controversy. As an entrepreneur and as women in this city, everything, in my opinion, is controversial. So the women are now slated to be in Queens, moving from the Rose M. Singer on Rikers to, they don't want to go to Queens. They want to be in Manhattan because they have family here, transportation is easier. And so I'm trying to do that. There's a facility in Harlem that is now a detention center. The governor could give it to the women, et cetera. But, how you get the governor and the mayor to work together, that's another challenge. They don't even march together in parades, so how you get them to talk. That sounds silly, but it's absolutely true. As women, we wouldn't be in that situation. I would talk to any of you, and you would talk to me, and we wouldn't have this thing. What? Crazy. But I feel bad that I'm not able to get them what they want. And it's challenging because sometimes, understandably, in a low-income community of color in Harlem, they may not want to continue to have that jail. They may want to have something else, like affordable housing. The governor might want to make money with condos. These are some of the issues that every single day, but I feel terrible that I'm not able to help in a real way the women who are detained to go where they want to go, because they do get hurt constantly, and they're often the breadwinner and the supporter in their families. They need transportation. That's number one issue. The other issue to mention is just in terms of women, where are those homeless women going? So we actually, the communities, if you're gonna have a shelter, this is another real estate challenge in the city of New York, then lots of communities want women. So in some cases, if a community has a shelter coming, they say, we'll take women, we won't take men. But then on 107th Street, where we have a shelter that has women and is beloved by the community, because the other shelters are closing their doors to men, they're going to get moved out. So you have to fight that. And do you win? Do you lose? Who knows? But the women in the lowest rung, to be honest with you, often get hurt badly. And that's why it's so exciting to see this day and this support, because yes, we want to be entrepreneurs, yes, we want to be in government and elected office, but we cannot forget those that are struggling the most. I also just want to mention in the city council, this is a funny story, but I do come from a belief that government information should be transparent. And so I was chair of the technology committee, but I was chair of the technology committee because I didn't support the right person running for the speaker. And when you don't support the right person, I don't care if it's Congress, I don't care if it's Iran, Afghanistan, France, you get the wrong committee. So they said, oh, we'll give Gail technology because nobody wants that committee. Well, I took lemons and made lemonade. We passed the open data bill, and we passed lots of different bills that make government transparent. But the reason I mention that is when I was first chair, the only group in the audience were men, because technology in 2002 was, ooh, who's interested in that? What's technology got to do with my life? So the reason I also mention it is try to find a topic that may be not as popular as others might think, and think of something that you can do that nobody else is interested in, and then you set yourself apart as women. And certainly with technology, we were able to do that, passing the most comprehensive open data bill. Every single city agency, 80 of them, has to put their data on the portal. And as we sit here today, we're using it to make sure the community boards know what is in their neighborhood, but people who are entrepreneurs are using this data, 311 data and other data, to build jobs. And it is very entrepreneurish for civic hackathons or just other kinds of opportunities when it passed, and I think it is the most far-reaching data bill in the country. It's all about data. As we sit here today, there's a lot of challenge about closing small mom and pops. I hate when, with all due respect, I hate Dwayne Reed and all those other national chains. But I love the mom and pops. A lot of the stores are vacant, online, rent, et cetera. So we passed a bill recently that says every owner of every building that has a storefront has to give the information, if it's vacant, to the Department of Finance. Data, data, data. So whatever entrepreneur, whatever opportunity you have, make sure that you work on the data aspect of it at the same time. I heard something about next year being 100 years, and I cringe, and I'll tell you why, because this is also a funny story. So about 5 years ago, in terms of women and voting, my friend is a historian, and she says, oh, we need to have a women's statue in Central Park. Who knew that it would take us 3 years to convince the Parks Department and Central Park Conservancy, A, to have another statue, and B, to have it of women? So we walked that friggin' park. I never wanted to walk that park again, to look for a place for this statue. And we ended up, finally, we've got Elizabeth, Katie Stanton, we've got Susan B. Anthony, and Sojourner Truth. Oh, Gail, her head is turned too far this way. The chin is up, the chin is down. I don't remember anymore. So after 5 years, we learned, as we were doing this project, there are only 5 women real women. Alice in Wonderland is not a real woman. 5 women statues in the whole city representing women. Everything else is men. I think it's 166 men. So this will be the beginning, and then I know Shirley Chisholm will be in Prospect Park, and there'll be others. But it'll be done by August 26th in Central Park, 2020, to get the 100th anniversary off to a really good start. But these are 5 years is what it took, and it is an example of you have to have a lot of patience, whether you're being an entrepreneur or you are in government. So I am really excited by what I see, I think, in terms of government with more women in office. We'll see some real leadership across our country. I hope some of you are involved in policy and figuring out how policies can change. One way to do that is through the community boards. There are 59 in New York City, 12 in Manhattan. We work really hard to train people. We have a long example of making sure that the expertise of zoning particularly stays on the community boards, but also changing those that might want to bring fresh ideas to the community. And I think it's a challenging time. People say, where did you get your tan, Gail? Have you been to Florida? I said, hell no. I've been standing in Foley Square protesting for the last 4 or 5 years because of what's going on in Washington. But the good news is between the women, the Muslims, Latinos, immigrants, LGBT community, and many others, there's a lot of coming together in 2019 to try to figure out what the best policy and the best government is, and that's exciting. I teach at Hunter College also, and I learn from students how exciting it is about the possibility for the future. Even the word they, I think it's great to have they as an individual, or if that's what you so select. The young people are like so over it. It's not a big issue. Webster has figured it out for the dictionary. That's a good thing. All of this is exciting to me because I think that people are making sure that everybody is included. That's what's important. Every single idea, every single person, every single entity has to be part of the discussion. There is no way that sunshine isn't brought if you have everybody in the room. Progress isn't a sprint, it's a relay. So I hope that you grab the baton, look around to see who you can pass it to next. That's also really important. If you're in a leadership position, you have to pass it to somebody. We have 120 some interns during the year and the summer, and we hope that we can pass it to them next. I finally just want to say the census is coming up, April 1st, 2020. We have a challenge in terms of a question that's not on the questionnaire, but people think it is. So we need to make sure that every single person fills it out, either online, by phone, by paper, or somebody knocking on your door. Make sure you fill it out because millions of dollars, if not billions. If we lose one member of Congress, worse could be 2, it's $1 billion a year in terms of what comes to the city of New York. Title I, Medicaid, the list is endless, all done based on the census. And then Charter 2019, there's going to be a vote on some charter items, how you can vote in the future, what the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board, looks like, and funding for the city of New York is all on the ballot come November 5th this year, 2019. So make sure you look at the material. I hope you vote yes, but feel free to look at it and decide for yourself. It's a really important year. And to be in college and at Berkeley and to have all of this support could not be more important. You know, they always say, oh, young people are our future, and I never believed them. I believe them. You are so important to our future, the women and the women of this city, because you understand how cities and culturally diverse communities work. You are the most important. The entire world is on your shoulders because it is so messed up. I'm so excited to be here tonight. Thank you very much.
She is a warrior. She is a warrior. All in a day's work. All in a day's work. Thank you, Gail, for being here and being so generous with your time. I want you to know that our Professor Darshan Desai in the Larry L. Lewing School of Business brought Open Data Week activities here to Berkeley College, and our students had projects centered around data. One of our students invented an app, a voting app, where New Yorkers could identify where they go to vote. So thank you for your service and for all you do for women and for all of New Yorkers. At this time, before we move on to our next panel, we'll introduce Jessica Walker, our moderator. We want to take our annual picture, so please, everyone, get up. Please step up to the front of the room. We're taking our annual group picture. Yeah. So we can have your voices heard and your images seen.
See everybody? Keep going. Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, right here, hold on. I'm gonna take a few photos here, so hold on. Okay, right here. And can you guys squeeze in a little bit more? I have a
Nice and tight, everybody.
Nice and tight. Yep. You can fill in the center too. Keep going.
Come on, everyone in the back. Come
You
on,
got
in
it.
front.
Yep. Okay. Here we go. And can you move in a little closer, sir? Yeah, there you go.
Big smiles.
Here we go. Let me see if I got that. 1 second. Okay. We good? Everybody good?
Yes.
Got it? Okay, cool. All right, thank you. Hope I'm not in your way. I'm trying to be.
I gotta run it back to the interview, but if you can tell me this problem, sure, I'll win that, right?
Okay, if we could have our panelists for panel 1, please step up here to your seats. And our moderator, Jessica Walker. Okay, we'll get panel 1 here.
Hi. Good morning. Let's go. You're sitting next to me. Good. Sitting next to you. Somebody's gonna sit. Yes.
So is everybody ready for some great conversation? Yes. Okay, I'd like to introduce, I have to say, Jessica Walker is a remarkable woman. Because of Jessica Walker, businesses are thriving in the city of New York. She is out there advocating for New York City's businesses every day of the week. And what's good for New York City's businesses is good for us, isn't it? Especially women entrepreneurs and our students here at Berkeley College who'd like to start a business. And Jessica is a great friend to Berkeley College. I want to thank you, Jessica, for your constant commitment to Berkeley College, for all you do for our students, for all you do for the city of New York, and for moderating this panel today. You are a superhero. Come on up.
Well, good morning. That's hard to top. Listen, I want to give a shout out though to Gail Brewer. I think she's here still, but she definitely is a she definitely has superpowers. I think everyone acknowledges that she's definitely the hardest working elected official in town. So much so that even her colleagues, other elected officials, say, "How does she do it?" So just kudos to her. She really is amazing. So let's get started because listen. I love what I do because I get to help entrepreneurs thrive here in the city. That's what it's all about. And the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce is all about trying to help businesses succeed. As Angela said, we do that through, a lot of times through connections. We try to put people in the right rooms together. We try to do a lot of advocacy to make sure that this is a good environment for them to operate, give them the information and the education they need to really run their business very successfully. But what I love about what I do is that we get to really help entrepreneurs. And I think you're going to hear a little bit today from our great panelists that it does take a lot of guts. So I love that, sort of unleashing your superpowers. That's what it's all about. So let's sort of jump in. I'm going to let all of the panelists introduce themselves quickly, and then also just sort of talk a little bit about how you got into this. We have some entrepreneurs, and then we have some who are also trying to help entrepreneurs. So if you could just sort of give us that little background, we can just sort of go down the row. Is that all right?
Perfect.
Please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is, good morning. My name is Damaris Burgess. I'm with the Business Outreach Center located in the Bronx and Upper Manhattan. I run the Women's Business Center, and it's the only women's business center in the Bronx, New York. I'm very grateful to be here, and thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jody Grenier. I'm the CEO of Foundation for Women Warriors. We're a nonprofit organization that helps women veterans thrive in their after-military careers. We provide childcare assistance, emergency assistance, and then also we help them with resources to empower their next step.
Hi, I'm Michelle Maddock. I started a business 15 years ago called shefinds.com. It's a fashion and beauty website. We are New York based on 27th and 6th, and I'm happy to tell you real life entrepreneur stories.
That's great.
Good morning. I'm Roxanne Nielsen. I'm from the Minority Business Development Agency Center. We're located at 48 Wall Street. We also, many people have heard of the SBA, but we're the SBA for the minority business community. And I also am a serial entrepreneur, business owner for over 30 years.
Good morning. My name is Kamisha Superville. I am the founder of EBK Events. We are a mission-focused and celebrity event planning firm in Brooklyn, New York.
Good morning. I'm Ilana Zolfo. I'm the Dean of the Larry L. Lewing School of Business at Berkeley College. I'm also on a board of HIA Long Island, which is a Hauppauge Industrial Association, second largest industrial park in the country. And I'm on their Small Business Task Force Committee, which we started a couple of years ago because of the need for small businesses to get much more information on how to be able to work with each other. And we feel that education and business have to go hand in hand. It's extremely important. So that's my mission, to match up education and business.
That's great. So actually, Michelle, let's start with you. As an entrepreneur, I think you started your company in 2004.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about that? What moved you to do that, and
Sure.
how things have changed in that
Well, I am very old. So in 1995, I graduated. I had got a master's degree from Northwestern, and I came to New York to work for CBS Television. And they said, in the marketing department, and they said, "Do you do internet?" And I said, "I have an AOL account." And they said, "You are in charge of CBS.com." And that's how I got into it. It was me. No one wanted to do it. This internet thing was supposed to be passing. It wasn't going to last. We're going to all get back to just watching television. So nobody wanted to do it. So it was like the black sheep assignment of the organization. But it became, of course, it kind of took off. So I kind of ran the entertainment side. It went from me and an assistant to 70 people within 2 years. And so that was an amazing experience. After that, I got a call from AOL, which at the time AOL was the internet. And so I went to, people forget, it was the internet. And I went to run women's content for AOL. And at that time, that was the internet, and 52% of the audience was women. I knew everything about women. I know the number one women's search was hair, and number two was hair removal. So I got a really good education in, what women were curious about. And then, so I was there, but I had 12 bosses in 5 years. It was really crazy. A lot of them were men. It felt like a Taliban of white guy MBAs, running the place. And I had one of my final bosses, every boss that came in, it was like a Hunger Games. Like, it was like who was going to get fired first, and they would get fired before I would get fired. And so I lasted 5 years. And so one of my final bosses comes to me in my review, and I was killing it. Like, all my numbers, they were asking me to tell people how I was doing it. And he goes, you're arrogant and people don't like you. You're too abrasive. And to me, that was like, you would never say that to a dude. So I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And the same thing as CBS. I'd had I just couldn't handle the politics. Like, once you were getting good, then people wanted to push you down. So I took myself and I bought the URL shefinds.com. I believed that content and commerce was going to happen, because there was things like Lucky Magazine, but they had no website. So I believed, if you searched black pants, you would get 10 million results on Google, but you wouldn't. How would you sort that out? So I really wanted to do that. So I went to Condé Nast and I said, I have this idea. Let's do a website for content and commerce. And they were like, we think you're a marketing person trying to be an editorial person. Doesn't cut it at Condé Nast. And the same thing, I went to Hearst for the same thing. And they said, they were starting a new magazine, and the new that was about shopping. And the editor of that says to me, I hate online shopping. I hate eBay. And I was like, eBay is the #1 apparel retailer online in the world right now. Like, this is the future, lady. So I went home with $500. I went on Craigslist. I found some crazy guy in the Ukraine. He built my website. He built my website for nothing. I bought the name She Finds off of a porn site. It was being used as it was She Finds. It was a search engine. And I just kind of went from there. And that's, now we're here 15 years later. My husband works for me. So, this is like, I think that it's a lot of grit. And I won't say that I haven't had a business near-death experiences many times, but, it's something that really, I think, helps women who don't, you always have to deal with BS, but who aren't feeling the politics of an organization.
That's great. So yeah, Damaris and Roxanne, can you talk a little bit about sort of the broader landscape of what you're seeing through your organizations and what's happening out there with women entrepreneurs?
And Damaris is my partner in crime. I'm in Manhattan, she's in the Bronx, and we both work with the minority business community. And what we are finding is that, and the statistics does bear this out, that minority women really are the engine of business growth. Women hold up the sky in general. We know this. We know that they contribute to the economy in a major way, both in the formal economy and in the economy of the home. But minority women in business are really driving the numbers, and we love data. And so I'm glad to see that our panel is shared by a number cruncher in our military co-panelists here. Because when you look at the numbers, it's very clear. Minority women are starting businesses in greater number than any other group. However, the revenue share is amongst the lowest. So what Damaris and our goal is to really grow the minority business community and help increase that growth?
Thank you, Roxanne. So I work out of Hunts Point, the Bronx, New York. And so the Bronx has a connotation of not necessarily fostering intellect, not necessarily fostering business development, and that's absolutely incorrect. What I would say is that 75% of the women that we serve are pre-startup, so we help them with access to capital, business development, technical assistance, understanding money, understanding cash flow analysis. And I think that the ability to have mentors, the ability to have networking, the ability to have, to understand that your network equals your net worth, and that the social capital and the people that you hang out with, the people that you, or your cronies, your classmates here in college, really make up who you can be today and really make up who you can be in the future. So what I would say is programming such as, you know, when we have female entrepreneurs come for one-on-one counseling, where do they leave their kids? You know, so there is programming available where they can come to our workshops, and we'll have an organization that'll support us with watching their kids. So really creating equity and excellence. And I think, I believe it's Roshana, right? She said it best, where when women entrepreneurs, they have the idea, but when it comes to strategy and execution, they get to have more training, and our services are free.
That's great.
So that's my final answer.
That's great. Jody, U.S. Marine. Yeah. Pretty amazing. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, women entrepreneurs who are veterans? That's sort of a growing area as well. There's a lot happening there.
It is, and I think it stems from probably the way the military is set up, where you learn a lot about small unit leadership. You are given a lot of responsibility at a very young age, and then sometimes you find yourself in predicaments where you have toxic leadership. So you get out of the military and you determine, do I want to go work for corporate America? And most veterans get out a little bit, you know, more mature than the average college student age, and then they're forced into these entry-level positions. So we're seeing more and more women starting their own business because of the skills that they've gained in the military, but then there's also the flexibility of, some of them have families, so being able to work from home, start your own business, network after hours when your spouse or significant other comes home, and really start to use the characteristics and some of the skills that they built in the military. I myself, you know, I worked for the State Department and DOD for a number of years when I got out of the military. And when I went into nonprofit, if you know anything about nonprofit, we're a lot like owning your own small business, except it's running two businesses at the same time. The programs we deliver to our clients, and then trying to build capital nonstop. You know, so I really became a huge, I invested in my education on marketing, because you have to message for two different audiences every day. So, but yeah, women veterans there's so many resources out there for women veteran entrepreneurs or veteran entrepreneurs.
That's great. Thank you. Alana. So, oh yeah, there you go. So obviously, this is an example of how colleges and universities can be helpful to entrepreneurs. This event today, but can you sort of talk about some of the other things that that are helpful?
There are quite a few different avenues on how to be helpful to entrepreneurs. First of all, we do send out interns to small companies, which helps the small companies if they can't afford the extra assistance. We do have entrepreneurship programs. We actually have entrepreneurship classes. We encourage our students to be able to, we take them to companies, we take them to, we take them on field trips, we show them what's going on. We believe, and lately, what we've been doing that I think is really exciting is something called ASL. It's Academic Service Learning. So many companies that are nonprofit really need the help but can't afford it because they are nonprofit and they need to use resources for other means. And we have class projects now for our students who are taking the ASL classes to be able to do projects for them. So we're working with Catholic Charities now, with a few others, to help them figure out, okay, with Catholic Charities, the example is, how do we improve the quality of life for the seniors who are utilizing our organization? And they have many, many departments. So the students have a project and they have to go and interview people and see what they can do. And it has to be very carefully planned. And so that's something that helps small businesses. There's some women starting non-for-profits. For example, the proms, the young women who just don't have anything to wear to the prom, and there is an organization for that. So our next project, we hope to help them have a class work on the projects of helping those students. And we constantly look for different ways to do that. We also, in colleges in general, there's a lot of training for entrepreneurs that are out there that is not necessarily for credit. And we're working now on those types of certificate programs, and that's being developed right now. I think that also most important is to constantly brush up on what is the newest need out there in industry. That's why I've chosen to always belong to business organizations. We need to know what the needs are, so our students are well prepared to go into those businesses and be selected to help them. And also, if the needs are right now, entrepreneurship is huge. So we're looking at having, one of the things we're planning in our department is to start a lab for entrepreneurs. And we're working on it right now, so it's not finished. So we talked about data analytics, and Gail mentioned how important it is for young women especially to learn about that type of program. It's being led, as somebody said before, by Darshan Desai, who's a woman, and she's actually developing a whole program for it. So we're out there trying to always anticipate what the need will be.
That's great. Kermishit?
That's me.
Yeah, you're an entrepreneur. Can you talk about what prompted you to start your business?
Yes. So what prompted me to start my business? So as I mentioned earlier, that my company is called EBK Events. That's Enchanted by Kamisha 5 years ago. And so literally what prompted me was community advocacy work. So I'm definitely grassroots, and I just started working with different clergies within my community of Brooklyn. I recall one day seeing the gun violence that was taking place in our communities, and I knew that I had something. Didn't know what it was, didn't know really my talents and skills. What I did know is that I was good at connecting folks. I was good at explaining myself and, manifestation. So I spoke to my pastor at the time, and I said, I think we need to do more for the community. I think we need to do an initiative called Bridging the Gap. And he said, Sister Superville. That's what he calls me. But that's also my last name. That's why I love Superpowers. But he said to me, what do you have in mind? And I proposed to him we should do a community initiative whereby we are bridging a gap between the community and the church. And so in 2015, we launched a huge initiative, over 600 plus participants. We had state, local politicians just coming together and having these type of conversations. How do we effect change in our community? Again, I didn't know how I did it, but I spearheaded this huge initiative. And so slowly, I became, really excited about event planning and connecting folks and logistics and so forth. And 5 years later, here I am, owning my own business as a minority woman in business and doing amazing things. I've been blessed to work with the community partners. I've been blessed to work with celebrities as well. And so I walk two worlds, but I'm still very community driven and very focused on how do I empower my community with my talents and skill sets. So
That's great.
yeah.
That's amazing. So we are going to open it up for questions in a second, but before we do that, in preparation for today, Berkeley asked each of us to think about a quote that we would offer to others. So I just wanted to, just sort of open it up for those who want to share what your quote was and why you chose it and why it's so important to you.
I was thinking today about how the dean was saying people were saying they want to just go straight into entrepreneurship. And one quote that I always relied on was, make your mistakes on someone else's dime. So like I feel like it might be good to go and get a job somewhere first, because you can learn a lot. Like when I worked at CBS, I basically like learned how to talk to developers and learned how, how to make audiences. When I went to AOL, like I got to they offer a whole bunch of management training for free. So, it's a good way to learn, because no matter what, you're gonna once it's your own business, you're gonna have to like figure out how to be how to manage. You're gonna have to figure out how to deal with office politics, even though you hope that you would not have those. It just happens, and even when I started the business, when I left AOL, I knew I wanted to build an email business with a big email list. So I took consulting jobs for Pfizer, helping them build an email marketing list. So I just think sometimes you might save yourself to give yourself a second education in the real world. And also my network is amazing. Like she would talk about network. From people who were at AOL and at CBS, I can reach anybody who ever worked in the media industry. So I'll give you an example. The other day I wanted to get in touch with someone at Amazon, and I don't really know anyone, I thought, at Amazon, but especially I wanted this one person who was running this one secret program for publishers. And I just emailed, anybody who I don't even remember who they were, but I immediately got all these responses back. So it's really important to get yourself out there and not be, I think, alone. There's always the story of the entrepreneur in the lonely room who makes it, but I really think you need to get a network and make your mistakes on other people's dime first.
That's great. That's great.
I started, with my undergraduate career at Swarthmore, and a very small school in Pennsylvania. And when I was finishing, I had a professor, Dr. Asmaram Lagesse, and I was really excited, and I said, I really want to go out in the world, and I want to help women. He was from Ethiopia, Eritrea, and I said, I really am interested in going and helping people. And he looked at me, even though I was an A student for him, and he said, well, but what can you do? Can you build an irrigation system? And I thought, an irrigation system? No, I can't build an irrigation system, So I thought about that, and it sticks with me even today. I later was the first African-American woman to go over as a journeyman carpenter and welder in the state of Hawaii. And so now I would say to Dr. Lagesse, yes, I can build an irrigation system today. But the quote that I had selected was when I was a little girl, someone gave me a book on Shirley Chisholm. So I was happy to hear that they're building a statue in her honor in Brooklyn and Prospect Park. So the quote that I have from her relates to the fact that, if you do not see a place for yourself, you make a place for yourself. And so her quote was, if you come to the table, if there's no seat for you, you bring a folding chair. If there's no chair for you at that table, bring a folding chair. So I would say make your own chair.
That's great.
So when I got the email, I don't think I actually responded to it because I texted a couple of my peers and colleagues, and I said, what are some great quotes of mine or things that I've said that really resonated with you? And one of them said, grab 2 drinks because we don't want to stand in this line again. And then another one was always bring your flats. So, but I'm sure I have more than some, logical advice. I think one of the things that's really resonated for me over the years is being met with a challenge or some sort of task and feeling this like imposter syndrome of, I'm not sure if I can do that. And I've always, just uttered to myself, do the work, the decisions make themselves. So if you put one foot in front of the other, don't fret so much about the outcome. They do make themselves. But if you don't do the work, you'll never know. And back in July, I recently was asked, 2 weeks after I said, oh my gosh, there's so much going on in politics, I just need to check out, I don't have the capacity. And then I got an invite to speak in front of Congress. And I said, of course, well, you heard me. And that was very gut-wrenching and nervous, and I had never done it before, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that have never done it, and they only get to do it once. And so just do the work, no matter how hard or difficult you may be. And then also when people offer you help, take it. Take it. We have, especially as women, we put our head down and we grind and we hustle and we think we need to do it all on our own. And there's so many people willing to help you, so take it.
So for my quote, very young in my career, I used to take myself very seriously. And I would often compare myself to people, which was not good, right? And so I like to laugh a lot to kind of not take myself so serious. So I don't know if you all have watched the movie Finding Nemo. Dory in the movie says, just keep swimming. And so that's my mantra. I often say that to myself, just keep swimming. And the reason why is you'll always get a lot of naysayers, whether it be friends, family, people who don't believe in your idea or don't believe in you. So the advice I can give is develop short-term memory and forget what they're saying and just keep swimming.
That's great. Do you want to
go last? So
Okay.
guess I have to. Oh, I have one. Okay. Hi. I was thinking about a quote also, and actually the other day I was talking to Angela, and she liked a quote I made without knowing I'm quoting something. But so she wrote it down, but I didn't. I really do strongly believe, if people ask me my advice, there are two things that really are important. One of them is the networking group you have. Don't ever burn bridges. It's just something that is so important. I can go back 30 years in my employment and still call on people who will be there for me instantly. And I've kept in touch with all of our clients because I did work with industry quite a bit through education. I think that's so, so important to not burn bridges, to maintain relationships, not just on social media. You've got to talk to people once in a while. And the other one is, too often hear people say what can't be done because it was done before and it didn't work. And that just holds you back. I strongly believe that if you're going to move forward, you've got to move forward. And if it was done before and didn't work, maybe there's a new twist on it. Maybe times have changed. But don't just always go back into the negative. It's very important to stay positive. That's it.
So mine's is excerpt from, I know many of you know, Sojourner Truth, the convention when she spoke to women. And I found that this is so essential to share here for me because it has always motivated me and it has always inspired me. So I'm just going to read a few excerpts. Well, well, children, where there is so much rucket, there must be something out of kilter. Ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arm. I have plowed and planted and gathered into bonds, and no man could head me. Ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as a man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I have borne 13 children and seen most have sold off to slavery. If the first woman of God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, these women, all of us here, are to turn it upside up, right again. The men better let them.
That's great.
Let me share why I wanted to share the excerpts. And again, we all know that. Sojourner Truth is such a trailblazer, right? And we have so many women today in our society that are trailblazing in so many different spaces. And I think my encouragement or my words of admiration will always be to continue to push those obstacles and push forward. For me personally, in the world of event planning, it has been so tiresome. And there are many times, because we're going to be real today, many times I do want to give up. Many times it's like, you know that you can't burn bridges, but you really want to tell them how you feel, right? but ain't I a woman? Because we do have the strength And there's something so unique about us. Like the young lady so eloquently said earlier, we are mothers, we are bearers, we are sisters, we are so much. And because we encompass all of that, it continues to motivate me to always push forward, because I know when I look back, I have somebody looking at me. So,
That's great. So we have 6 women, amazing women, who have clear superpowers. So ask them some questions. Get some insight, please.
Hi, ladies. My name is Siobhan Hodges. I'm the founder of Girls in Granola. We're a fitness company that curates and creates wellness experiences for underrepresented women of color, starting with our signature trap aerobics class. But that's not important right now. Question. I want to know, okay, entrepreneurship as a woman of color, it is hard. And there are days when I'm just like in the trenches and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? My question is, what is the story that you're telling yourself when you feel absolutely defeated and you just feel like you want to give up? What is that story?
You're not alone. I guess there is a misery in company, but you know, as an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, I've had spectacular failures. And I think that, and it is maybe a tropism to say that, you know, you learn more from your failures. Now working with the Minority Business Development Agency Center, I can see like the future a little bit when I talk and sit down with young or new business owners to see that path, and I'm like, oh, it's coming, it's coming. But these challenges that you face are merely challenges. And the cool thing about being a business owner is that you're constantly reinventing yourself. You've already invented your business, so it's not difficult for you to imagine positioning, inventing, but get help. We're here. There's a lot of business intelligence available to you, and we notice that the most successful businesses, because I deal with the businesses in the minority MBDA that are doing between $1 and $2 million annual revenue, and Damaris is dealing with the businesses that are on the micro side and just starting. So there's a lot of business intelligence, and you must avail yourself because you are not alone. You've not walked this path the first time. There's other people.
So my business, 15 years, I've had many times when I thought, okay, this must be the end. You know, like the internet industry would all of a sudden change, like, but was good, you know, we would lose like a $500,000 deal because they just decided to change the strategy, you know, the advertising. And it was like, so there's been many times, but here's another saying for you: you're never lost until you're out of gas. So I always just go, okay, we have this much gas left. Where can we find some cash? So what can we do? So when I started this business, I actually, to raise some money, I did tours of New York for shopping tours. I hated it. I didn't, but it made me money. Like I would make $10,000 a tour, you know, like, but I realized I'm not very good with people, you know? But I would like bring, 12 women from Toronto and show them around. So I just think it's like, it forces you to be creative when things are challenging. It makes you think, okay, what can we do next? And with my team as well, like, we focus on traffic. Okay, so all of a sudden, we used to be #1 in Google for a whole bunch of terms, and then they changed their algorithm, and so then we're like, okay, now how are we going to do this? Okay, we're going to focus on social, or we're going to focus on this, or there's always, you're never lost till you're out of gas.
That's great.
So to frame things, our organization is $500,000 annual budget. So I am in a nonprofit space with 46,000 other veteran organizations, and we are tiny in comparison, and men are the face of the veteran cause. So every day, women, veterans, are fighting to be seen, heard, and funded, and so is my organization. But if I focus on that, the bigger problems, they will eat me up. And so I have a personal board of advisors, and I probably don't call them as much as I should. I have the one girlfriend that I'm like, mental breakdown. She's like, yeah, me too. So she's probably not so good to call. But then I have the people that really uplift me, and they've got to be on speed dial, and really remind me of what my purpose is when you're in that dark place, because it's very easy to let that negative self-talk defeat you. But the challenges are areas for growth, and then you can rest on those the next time you get somewhere challenging, and you've like built this path in your brain that's like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. I've been here before, and whatnot. So, good luck. Thank you. I know it's hard out there, but.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What's the story that you tell yourself when you're feeling defeated and down in the trenches?
Thank you for repeating the question. The story I tell myself when I'm feeling down, I cannot give from an empty cup, right? And in the role that we have, we serve. We serve to make money, or we serve to support in business, right? And so for me, when I feel myself getting jittery or getting worried, or I experience myself in not a good place, that's an alarm for me. And I literally call my boss and say, I'll see you on Monday. And it's like Tuesday. So I think really being connected with yourself and really understanding yourself will allow you to water the grass, make it green, so that when you're ready to be ready, you're up in front and you're ready. So that's what I would say.
I'll add a little story to that. A friend of mine, many, many years ago, a few of us became friends because we met in industry. Small businesses, not small businesses, but we became friends. And we were always there, as somebody just said, to help each other when you're down. Well, one day we were having our monthly dinner, and one of them called us up and said, I know I'm still having the dinner at my house, but I got fired today. And she was a professional. And we just said, okay, let's go buy her a gift and let's go over and just cheer her up. And you know what? Not because of us, but within a week, she just felt she's going to pick herself up. Within a week, she got this great job. She's been there since. She's so happy. And she's a major success who's helped other people. So I do believe in paying it forward, and I do believe in having people that you can talk to. But that's why, again, it's not just social media out there. You have to have people you can count on, and keep doing that. It's not a one or the other.
So for me, being a millennial and all, I'm kidding. But I think for me, that's a really great question, because just Sunday I was feeling like that. I was having self-doubt, and I was in a little dark place. However, I am very spiritual, and as the young lady said earlier, you have to tap into your inner core. Why am I doing this, right? And for me, I'm very motivated, self-taught, so I listen to podcasts, right? And on Sunday, literally, when I felt that way, God directed that energy, and I was able to look up a YouTube video of Tyler Perry. Everybody know about Tyler Perry, right? Yeah. And let me tell you that 35 minutes just listening to him speak, and it was a dialogue between him and the CEO of Goldman Sachs. And to hear him speak about the trajectory of his career, it was just affirmation for me, like, Kamisha, you got this. You got this. The theme is staying focused. With all the noise that's taking place, stay focused. Yes, tap into your network. If you don't have that network, seek that knowledge outside. And then the rest will come. Yeah, it will come. That's great.
Another question? One more?
Thank you, panelists. I'm Dr. Sharon McLennan-Ware. I'm the Director of Disability Services here at Berkeley College. And I just wanted to advocate for all individuals, especially those with disabilities. The opportunity of having your own business as a person with a disability is a great opportunity in the sense
working from home and being able to network with folks without being physically judged. I just wanted to ask all the panelists, in your experience in working with others, have you come across women with disabilities, and how do you get them talking about businesses and opportunities that they themselves can achieve, considering that people with disabilities, women are the largest minority group having disabilities in the country? Thank you.
I think that's a great question, Dr. Weir. You know, with the Minority Business Development Agency Center, we see businesses in every area and every vertical of industry. So we are assisting firms that are all online, fintech. We have fintech companies, we have beauty companies, we have a lot of construction companies, and so we see there are a lot of opportunities for business startups, even in the disability community, but we haven't done specific outreach to the disability community. So I think Dr. Weir makes an important point that there is a demographic that we may not be focusing on that we could be, because for every industry is open to anyone, irrespective of ability. So we think that there are a lot of opportunities out there. There are a lot of funding resources that are open to every community. And so we do not have an advertising budget. So we rely on just coming out to outreach events, and we do also work with, with anyone that would come to our offices, we would help.
I would repeat the same thing. You know, we try to be out there as much as possible. We, as a women's business service center, we serve men as well. We don't turn anyone away. Very recently, there was a woman who came in, and she was couldn't see very well, and she franchised and put a soda pop, soda together, and it was just the ability to really see her, and I'm going to emphasize that, see her and her showcase who she was unapologetically, and have that be part of who her business planning is, really makes the woman and really creates confidence in the woman. And so to Roxanne's point, we haven't necessarily done much outreach, but we could look forward to that in the upcoming year and branch out.
That's great. Okay. So I think we're going to have to wrap it up, but let's give this is an amazing panel. Let's give them a round of applause.